Why commodity exporters benefit from the US dollar. A simple example using crude oil, India, and the Gulf. Before we begin, a quick note. Everything you're about to see is a hypothetical example, simplified numbers chosen purely to make one concept clear. We have chosen India as our importing country simply because India imports crude oil in very large quantities. We have chosen Gulf countries as our exporter simply because they are among the largest exporters of crude oil in the world. No other inference should be drawn. In reality, all countries are progressive and growing. We have shown different levels of productivity for different countries only to isolate and explain one specific idea. And throughout the entire example, we will hold all other factors constant, what economists call ceteris paribus. One more important note. In this example, we are treating purchasing power parity, PPP, as the primary and deciding factor of exchange rates. In the real world, exchange rates are influenced by many other factors too, but for the purpose of this illustration, PPP is our foundation. Now, with that context in mind, let us begin. Imagine it is 1947. To keep things simple, say $1 equals 1 Indian rupee. This exchange rate is based on purchasing power parity, meaning a dollar in America and a rupee in India both buy the same thing, one basket of goods. And in 1947, 1 barrel of crude oil is priced at $1. So 1 barrel equals $1 equals 1 rupee equals 1 basket of goods. That is our starting point. Hold on to it. Now jump to 2025. Both countries have made progress, but at very different rates. Over this period, the United States achieved 30 times the productivity growth that India could achieve. As a result, $1 now buys 30 baskets of goods, while 1 rupee buys just 1 basket. So PPP adjusts the exchange rate accordingly. If $1 buys 30 baskets and 1 rupee buys 1 basket, then $1 equals 30 rupees. Now, and this is important, in this particular scenario, PPP makes currency exchange fair. If India wants to swap money, 30 rupees buys 30 baskets at home, and converting those 30 rupees into $1 also buys 30 baskets in America. In this case, no gain, no loss from simply exchanging currencies. Remember this point. We will come back to it. Now here is where it gets interesting. The price of crude oil in 2025 is still $1 per barrel. We are keeping it at $1 to keep things simple and comparable, just as it was in 1947. Watch what happens to the Gulf exporter. They sell 1 barrel, they receive $1. With that $1, they can now buy 30 baskets of goods, because that is what $1 buys in 2025, given America's productivity growth. Back in 1947, that same $1 bought them just 1 basket, same barrel, same dollar price of $1. But 30 times the real purchasing power. The Gulf exporter has gained 30 times more real wealth without any productivity gain on their part. Why? Because the dollar they receive has been made powerful by America's productivity growth, and crude oil happens to be priced in that dollar. This was not a strategy. This was not planned. For the Gulf countries, this was a blessing in disguise, an unintended windfall that came simply from the accident of the world choosing to price oil in the US dollar. To prove that the dollar is specifically the reason, let us run a comparison. Say the Eurozone's productivity also grew over this period, but only 15 times, not 30. So €1 now buys 15 baskets, and by PPP, €1 equals 15 rupees. If crude oil were priced in euros at €1 per barrel, India would only need to pay 15 rupees, 15 baskets, for 1 barrel. The Gulf exporter would also receive only 15 baskets worth of purchasing power, not 30. Change the pricing currency and everything changes. The exporter's windfall shrinks. India's burden shrinks. This is the proof. It is not merely that oil is a commodity. It is specifically that oil is priced in US dollars, the currency of the world's most productive major economy, that determines the scale of the transfer. A less productive pricing currency means a smaller transfer. The dollar, being the most powerful, creates the largest effect. Look at India. To buy 1 barrel in 2025, India must hand over 30 rupees, 30 baskets of goods. In 1947, the same barrel cost 1 basket. Because the U.S. achieved 30 times the productivity growth that India could achieve over this period, the dollar became 30 times more powerful relative to the rupee. And because oil is priced in that dollar, India must now give up 30 times more of its own output to buy the same barrel. Had oil been priced in a currency of a less productive economy, India would pay far less. The dollar, specifically, is what determines the scale of India's burden. The real lesson. So what is the takeaway? In this example, purchasing power parity ensures that no country gains or loses simply by exchanging currencies. The exchange rate adjusts to reflect each country's productivity. That part is fair in this scenario, but crude oil is a real commodity, priced at a fixed nominal amount, $1, in US dollars. That dollar has been made extraordinarily powerful by American productivity growth. So when a Gulf nation sells a barrel for $1 and walks away with 30 baskets, it is, without any effort of its own, collecting the reward of America's hard work. For the Gulf, this was a blessing in disguise. Nobody designed it this way. The world simply chose to price its most important commodity in the currency of its most productive economy, and the exporters of that commodity became the silent beneficiaries. The USA angle, a thought to close with. And here is one final thought worth considering. There is a reason why the current administration of the United States has been pushing to export more and more crude oil. Think about it through the lens of everything we just discussed. Now, on the surface, America does not appear to benefit the way Gulf countries do. The Gulf countries benefited because oil was priced in a currency they did not control. They simply received dollars whose purchasing power had been built by someone else's hard work. America, on the other hand, is the country whose productivity made the dollar powerful in the first place. So selling oil at $1 and receiving $1 back is not an unearned windfall for America. It is just getting its own currency back. But here is the indirect benefit, and it is a significant one. When America sells 1 barrel of crude oil for $1 and receives that dollar back, it can use that dollar to buy assets in countries like India, stakes in Indian companies, real estate, agricultural goods like rice and spices, sectors where productivity differences matter far less. And because $1 equals 30 rupees, America is effectively acquiring those Indian assets 30 times cheaper than an Indian buyer would in dollar terms. In other words, by exporting crude oil, a commodity that requires no productivity advantage to sell, America earns dollars that it can then deploy globally to acquire real assets at a fraction of their value in local currency terms. This may well be one of the quiet strategic reasons behind the push to export more American crude. Not just energy dominance, but the ability to convert a barrel of oil into disproportionate purchasing power over the rest of the world's assets. Close. So the next time you hear that a commodity exporting nation has grown wealthy, ask yourself, did they innovate? Did they build? Did they raise productivity? Or did they simply sit on a resource priced in the currency of the most productive nation on earth and receive a blessing they never asked for? Productivity is what a country earns. A commodity priced in the right currency is what a country is handed. Look at India. To buy